I guess we can kick it off now. I dropped a link to the meeting agenda in the chat. If you could add your name to the attendees list, you can start with the agenda. Do we have any new people on the line that want to introduce themselves? Okay, anything anybody wants to demo? All right, so we'll move on to the first thing on the agenda, and that is the CNAB 1.0 spec milestone. We had some discussion over Slack and GitHub last week, kind of building up the 1.0 milestone. Is there anything that people think is missing from the current set of things that are there? Should we walk through them right now? Has anybody not taken a look at it?
I've got one item I might want to add, but it comes up in the next agenda item, so let's talk about that later.
Okay, cool. On the 1.0 agenda that's there right now, or spec milestone that's there right now, I think there is one issue that is outstanding for review, and I think it's number 160. It was a Michelle PR from a while back to rename digest to content digest for clarity, and I think she was just waiting for a review from Simone. She had addressed the comments that he had made. So if you could take a look at that, that would be great. Okay, Glenn, do you want to lead the next item?
Okay, just before we move on, I noticed that
sure,
issue 147, air gap scenarios, that's a bit of a mammoth thing. And I think it's been somewhat addressed with a new section in the 800 series. But there was a kind of append on the end, which says about including the JSON schema in the thick bundles. Feels like a new piece of work. Yeah, it's for one, I guess. Okay, so moving on to the next section. Apologies for the long document that I wrote, discussion document, but I was struggling to see whether future changes to relocation, signing, content addressing, that kind of stuff would actually impact the 1.0 spec if we froze it now. And the general conclusion was no, it wouldn't. But there are some points that I wanted to clear up that I actually put on the agenda page just so we could discuss them. So 3 points. First one is relocation. At the moment, when we do relocation, we actually produce a new CNAB. And it has an image map with original image included in, field included in there so that the invocation image can see the mapping between the two. And Radu and some others have been discussing that with me. And it seems like it'd be better to not mutate the CNAB, not produce a new CNAB, but to produce a kind of map file, a JSON map file as output from the relocation, and then to feed that back into the runtime when running actions. That means we can then sign the CNAB and preserve that signing across relocation. Possibly what would happen is we'd sign the mapping file as well, and then include that in the software delivery chain if we wanted to. So if we want to go that way, I've drafted a spec issue to cover it. Any thoughts on that?
Actually, there are two approaches for solving this. Either we can support an external map file, or actually the two approaches need a separate map file. But either we at the CNAB building time we keep origin of images as a known. Like it will be combined with what is in the map file, or we just say we just keep the CNAB specification as it is today, and the map can only change the registry and repository of origin of each individual image. I have no idea which approach is the best, but yeah.
If we go the route to generating the image map and passing that at runtime, the only thing that we have to change in the CNAB core that I'm aware of is one line that says that the image map injected at runtime in root CNAB image map JSON must come from the images section and bundle JSON. The only change required would be to relax that, as I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a change in the CNAB core specification to allow us to do something like that.
That's right. There would be a little bit of tidy up as well, because we could get rid of original image. But apart from that, it'd be okay.
Yes, and actually for the CNAB to OCI thing, when we reconstruct bundle, we actually do not reconstruct the CNAB part, but we only reconstruct the map, which might be a very good approach.
Okay. Yeah.
If everyone's okay with that, I'll open a draft PR with these two changes and then give everyone to have a look.
Okay, could you look at the draft spec issue to kind of inform that as well? 195.
Sure.
Put some thoughts into that earlier, so that might help. That'd be fantastic. The other question mark about in 195, which we'll just touch on before we move on, is that there's a spec issue 144, which talks about mounting the whole CNAB for the invocation image to see. And if we accept that, if we add that to the spec, then the mapping information can be just the reference-to-reference mapping. It doesn't need to replicate anything else in the bundle.json. I don't know what is going to happen to 144, though, whether it's likely to be added or not.
I like the idea of 144 because this way custom extension that we added in the CNAB itself can be exposed to the invocation image. So I think it's a good idea. And actually, yes, we could say that now the I'd like to keep the image map as it is today with the same format, and yeah, and maybe we just should just merge information from the map file plus the original CNAB bundle, so that we regenerate that, because it's easier to parse than having to do this reconstruction from the two files inside the invocation image. It's this reconstruction, if you are writing your invocation image in Golang, it might not be so difficult, but if you want to do that in bash scripts or things like that, it might be really difficult and not particularly interesting to do.
All right, so it sounds like we've got that as a decent direction. Could we add the draft spec issue to Milestone 1? That'd be acceptable to everyone?
Yep.
It already is in there. Yeah.
Okay.
If I have some time, I think I'll PR this. This is just a quick update to the spec to like must, upload to this path. So we can do that later today or tomorrow.
Okay, I think Radu is also volunteering to PR it, so that's great.
Oh, okay. Go for it, Radu.
I have volunteered for the image map change, but yeah, feel free to take this one.
Sweet. Okay.
Let's move on to point 2 then on the agenda. I'm just wondering about the 805 section that got merged earlier today, the distributed scenarios, and it does mention talking about storing bundles in registries, and that just made me a little bit nervous because we've kind of said that's not part of the core. But on the other hand, the 805 section is not normative, so who cares? I thought I'd just bring that up in case we want to strip back 805 temporarily until we get a registry section in place, and then we can make the wording consistent rather than jumping the gun, as it were. Any thoughts on that?
For a non-normative section, I don't think that matters. There is a spec. I think the area we're trying to keep fairly tied down is the 100 section, and that's it. because that's the CNAB core spec, is just 100 to 104.
Oh, okay.
Is
So
the
805
core.
is part of core then.
Right, yeah.
Okay, that's great. All right, number 3. This is just a kind of worry bead for me, really, but we've got rid of the multi-tar representation of thick bundles. That got merged earlier in the spec. We need to tidy up duffle. But I'm wondering about what we should do for duffle import. This is a duffle question rather than a spec question. Because duffle import of the multi-tar thick bundle used to load the images into the Docker daemon. And now that that's gone, that won't happen anymore. So the duffle import for an OCI image layout does not load the images into the Docker daemon because there isn't a suitable library actually to do that mapping as far as I can tell. So does that bother anyone? I think the default is it will just import the bundle into Duffle's private storage and that will be it.
I guess we still need to be able to import the invocation image, not the component images, but invocation image should be imported on the daemon. Actually, I think OCI layout can be imported using Docker load. I think it's compatible.
Okay, I just haven't seen an API that tells me that's the case. So
yeah, the only thing is that you can't select which image you want to import from the image layout. It will basically import everything, and it might fail if there are multi-arch images and images not supported on the daemon platform. But by just modifying the index file so that you only get the invocation image and rebuild the tarball, or do that by streaming or something equivalent, you should be able to actually import an OCI image layout. Let me just check in Docker code base, but I think I've seen something like that.
Yeah, okay. If that's the case, I'd love it if one of the Docker team could handle that one because it's an area that I'm a bit shaky on.
I guess the main question that I have in this scenario is the machine that's pulling the bundle, that's importing the bundle, the same one that is going to actually use the component images in the bundle? The same question goes for duffle pull, right? You have the invocation image and the bunch of images that are referenced there. The invocation image is going to run on the machine that runs the bundle. But assuming that you have a cluster somewhere where you're going to execute the bundle to and where the installation is going to happen, do you actually need all the component images on the host machine that's executing the bundle other than the invocation image? Should that be the default or should it be an opt-in? Does that make any sense?
Makes sense to me as a question, but I don't know what the
I'm a
answer
little
is.
confused. Make what a default?
Should the default, when you do a duffle import and a duffle pull, to also be to load the referenced images in the Docker daemon to pull them or to import them by default, or should that be an opt-in?
I think it should be opt-in because, and even I don't see really the point because most of the images, except for the invocation image, most of the images won't be run on the local daemon itself. They will be just referenced and deployed on a cluster or something like that. But I guess one thing that what we want to do is with duffle is to be able to populate a registry with the content of an image layout. So maybe something like duffle deploy images or something like that, where you can specify which registry you want to, which registry and repository you want to target, and yeah.
Duffle Relocate already does some of that work. It actually does the copying of images from the layout to the registry.
Oh, it does that. It's
Yeah.
yeah. So if it's yeah, maybe we need a more explicit name for that. But yeah, basically it's what we need, and yeah, it might be cool for duffle pool to actually pull the invocation image, but the other images, yeah, being able to relocate them in a registry, it's a better scenario, I guess.
I did have a general question about this import and loading up images into the daemon. Does the daemon guarantee to keep those images in place? You know, if we load the invocation image into the daemon, does it guarantee that that image won't then be pulled from the remote registry?
Actually, it will, because when you load an image into Docker daemon, you lose the origin, the digest of origin. So if you reference it by a digested reference, the manifest will be pulled, and the blobs will won't be, because they are already on the host, but there will be a pull operation, because actually there is no way for the daemon to validate this.
There's no protection against. It's no use in an air gap scenario, is it? That's because it still requires some level of network access to the original registry.
Yes, that's why we need to support importing into an air-gapped registry.
Right. So this loading images into the daemon is just a performance optimization, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, great. Okay, so I'll dig into the issues surrounding that. I think there's only one about duffle import, and hopefully get someone on the Docker team to implement that side. You know, the copying from the OCR layout to the registry. That would be great.
Yeah, if you can ping Sylvain on the issue, I will make sure to discuss with him about it tomorrow. But
yeah, okay, great, thank you. That's the end of my item. Thank you.
All right, that takes us through the agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to add now?
I'm sorry I joined late. Did we go through the open items on the 1.0 milestone yet?
I think we did. Nobody had anything to add to that. There's a couple of PRs that are open, just waiting for reviews. Do you have any specifics you want to discuss?
There was one that I wanted to know if we could close.
Okay.
Which was the one about dollar parameter, I think was in the subject. I think.
Oh, the voting one.
I think when Ryan's issue.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Ryan's issue got merged. Okay, so.
It has not yet. It has conflict. So once that merges, this will close.
Okay, good. Yeah, that was the only one I had on there. Everything's looking really good to me. I think we made a lot of progress in the last 2 weeks. It's fantastic. That was the only one I had.
What's the likely outcome for 172? Should images be parameters? Got the impression that was going away.
I didn't close it because I had a question about it. It's just, should we just close the issue, or should we add somewhere in the non-normative section something about image handling and describing that both the parameter and the static image reference approaches are valid, and there is pros and cons for both. I don't know if we should put that in a non-normative section, or just leave it uncommented for now.
If we don't put it in a non-normative section but implement it in duffle, is that a suitable form of documentation for that, or would people prefer to have something non-normative?
I think a non-normative section might be clearer for end users.
Is this 172?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to implement something like that in duffle? Sorry.
Yeah, actually, as it's about a non-normative section, it's actually not about the 1.0 milestone. So I guess we can just remove the tag and keep the issue open.
I would actually be very interested in adding a image parameter type that's explicitly typed as an image, because I think that will enable some use cases where, like, I'm looking to have a platform that I can go and figure out exactly what all the images are that have currently been specified, and have installations associated with them so that I can go clean up images by digest from registries when I know that there are no references at n minus whatever revisions back, so that I can continuously be able to roll back if I need to, but be able to clean up images. And if there's a typed parameter for an image, then that's possible. But if we're saying, yeah, it's okay if you need to, I think we can't say that it's not possible, but if we provide a type, then it makes it much more easy to be able to do something like that.
There is also something you can use is to add custom fields to your parameters to add metadata that are useful for your use case, because actually the type of an image reference is a string, and we could add some regex validation thing or something like that, but yeah, I guess using an extension field might be enough.
Can you open an issue on that and ping Ryan Moran directly? Ryan has been interested in some of this stuff in the past and might have some ideas.
Yeah, I can do that. That's been an issue for us with Helm as well, because images can be passed in as any field. But if the spec accounted for an image type explicitly, then I think we'd see more community bundles. It's fine, we can do whatever we need to for internally developed bundles, but if we want to have bundles be portable and compatible with other systems, then it'd be really advantageous to have it part of the spec, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we need to figure if it's a first type first class type, or if it's some kind of annotation or a non-normative well-known annotation like we have for custom actions and things like that. But yeah. That's an interesting scenario.
Yeah, I was hoping that Ryan might have ideas on how that would be modeled in the JSON schema stuff that he's been working on, because otherwise you're right, it's just kind of like, do we want to add a custom type that's not part of the JSON schema stuff that we've tried really hard to stay close to, or yeah.
Just ask a stupid question on this one, Jacob. Why isn't the current image map in the bundle JSON sufficient?
I think it's actually, we're planning to use that for bundles that we develop. So it's sufficient for a lot of use cases, I believe. But if you just think about mapping, having a declarative invocation image for Helm charts, then you're going to need to support parameters, I believe, unless you want to generate a completely new bundle for every chart, which we could probably do. But
okay, so the images referenced in those parameters, would those also be in the image map?
They would go into one place. They would probably only be parameters, I think. Okay. I would also like to maybe couple that with the idea of having immutable parameters, or parameters that can only be mutated when the action itself is a mutating action. But that's getting a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around relocation for images which aren't in the bundle.
Yeah.
Guess that's just someone else's problem.
Yeah, actually, that's something I thought of when answering on 172. There are actually two approaches for dealing with component images. it's either you want everything to be managed and validated together using CNAB specified images, or you just use freeform parameters, and both have pros and cons. Obviously, obvious pros for the CNAB approach is that we are able to relocate everything for air gap scenarios and things like that without the user having to do anything. But it comes at the cost of being not as flexible as with just generic parameters. And if actually it's even incompatible with the Elm package thing, where in Elm you can actually parameterize everything, and it's by design. And so yeah, and it's a completely different approach, but both are valid and both are supported. And I think we shouldn't impose our views on that subject anyway. But yeah, passing image reference as parameters makes the image totally invisible to the CNAB ecosystem itself.
So to quickly loop back, we can take 172 off of the 1.0 milestone since it's a normative section, right? And then we'll try and capture these other use cases as separate issues. Does that sound right?
Sounds good to me.
I would be really interested in coming to a decision point before 1.0 of whether parameters should have a first class image type. Because I do think we'll have people developing bundles that are just going to want to fit something into the kind of the Helm model.
Yeah, I think at least we should have a discussion about it, and there might be reasons that come up to defer. But right now, I think it's too early, and we should just open that issue, give everybody a chance to weigh in on it, and try and make some traction. Because I can see the advantages to doing it that way. If but I think we all need a chance to.
I can go ahead and file an issue.
Okay, that'd be great.
If you can just file an issue, reference 172, and ping either Radu or me or Michel about that, and we'll put the correct tag. And in the meantime, I will untag the 172 thing, which is more generic.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, that gets us through the agenda. So going once, twice. All right, I'll throw the notes into the agenda. I wrote them down in my notebook since we were talking. Everybody have a great day, and see you on Slack.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.